Hey, shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm back in Colombia. Now, cameras don't really do it justice, but I'm surrounded by beautiful mountains and forest here. I had gone to visit my parents in December, and I was grateful to visit them. I saw uncle, cousin as well. It's always good to go back, but I have been living outside of the United States for the past 5 years because I believe the United States is the Babylon prophesied within the Bible. And I wanted to talk about some recent events that prompted this video, and I'm going to commit this year in 2026. My goal is to finish that book on Babylon, similar to how I wrote this book on Paul. I'm planning on making that Babylon book available for free as a PDF, and for the whatever the publisher price is for the print version. I prefer the print version, but you certainly saw in the news that the United States captured the president of Venezuela. So far, thank goodness, things here in Colombia are peaceful. It's just an ordinary day, business as usual. Medellin's pretty far away from the border, so no issues there. The United States captured Maduro. In the following day, he threatened the president of Colombia. Just recently, just today, the United States seized a Russian-flagged tanker. And so this has all just happened in the past, 72 or so hours. And to get into scripture here, Jeremiah 50 refers to Babylon as the hammer of the whole earth. And Babylon is referred to as the hammer of the whole earth in this scripture. And in the book that I'm writing, I'm going to take a look at verses like this. In fact, I'm going to look at every single verse where Babylon is mentioned. Next to Jerusalem, Babylon is the most mentioned city in the entire Bible, more than Bethlehem, more than any other city you can name. Babylon is the antithesis to the kingdom of the Father. Babylon is an earthly kingdom. And this specific characteristic I'm going to talk about in the video being the hammer of the whole earth, because these news stories I showed you, kidnapping the president of Venezuela, threatening also the president of Colombia, seizing a Russian oil tanker. I mean, what other country or entity on the planet could get away with what the United States is doing? I mean, Russia is a nuclear superpower. You could argue that maybe it doesn't have as much power as the United States, fair enough. But again, what other country on the planet has the type of geopolitical power that the United States has? Certainly not the United Nations, because if the United Nations were the hammer of the whole earth, it would not be allowing these types of actions that were happening. And it's important to identify who is Babylon, and I would encourage you to read Jeremiah 50 in its entirety. But this idea of being the hammer of the whole earth, you may have heard of this concept of the world's policeman. According to Wikipedia, for what that's worth, is that this is an informal term for a superpower which seeks or claims the right to intervene in other sovereign states. And so this more or less is the title that the United States has had for much of its recent history. People have challenged me in the past, maybe Babylon is someone else, maybe Babylon is the Vatican or Israel, or there's all sorts of other candidates. But really, who else could fit that definition and have the type of power that the United States has in these situations? I'm not going to focus too much on the day-to-day politics of what happens, but I'm going to try to step back and look at the bigger picture, because when it comes to things like this, being the hammer of the whole earth, Another detail here is that the United States really has been at war or in some sort of conflict, doing coups or interventions almost in the entirety of its history, 225 out of the 243 years since 1776. Now, some of those wars are formally declared wars, such as World War I and II, but many of these are not declared. The United States has not declared a war in a long time, but you could still say, of course, we've been at war, such as the War on Terror. I mean, the War on Terror alone has been going on since 2001, and we still are in the Middle East to this day, engaged in various conflicts to that effect. And if you look at the history just since the inception of the United States, especially with recent history, really what other country is doing the type of intervention globally that the United States is doing? Just take a look at some of the headlines here. United States engaged in 46 military interventions from 1948 to 1991. Maybe during that same time that you could argue that the Soviet Union might have had similar power. But since 1991-2017, the number has increased fourfold for the number of interventions that they've done. Really, there's no other global power that compares to the type of power that the United States has. This idea of being the hammer of the whole earth, I think this is one of those key details which makes it more clear who is or who isn't Babylon. Some people might have arguments for other candidates of Babylon based on other criteria, but based on this criteria, I think it's pretty clear that it's hard to picture in recent history, at least since the inception of the United States, who could even compare to that type of power. There's much more that I can say, and there is, in fact, much more that I have written. The good news is here in Colombia things are safe, so do pray for peace. Peace here in Colombia, peace in Venezuela. The United States, I do believe, is Babylon, and I want to dedicate myself this year in 2026 to writing that book. Similar to my book on Paul, I'm going to make that available as a PDF for free because the hope is in writing the book that I help someone see who Babylon is, even if it's only one person. That would be worth it for me. I mean, there are so many commands within the Bible to flee Babylon. You see this Isaiah 48, go out from Babylon. Isaiah 50, flee from the midst of Babylon. Isaiah 51, flee from Babylon. Jeremiah 51, go out of the midst of her. Zechariah 2:6, flee from the land of the north. Up, escape to Zion, you who dwell with the daughter of Babylon. And of course in Revelation 18, come out of her, my people, lest you partake in her sins, lest you share in her plagues. We are commanded to flee Babylon, and so my intention in writing this book is not necessarily to predict each and everything that may happen in the end times, but rather simply who is Babylon. Because this is why I've left the United States and why I'm living here in Colombia. I mean, look at this background I have. Absolutely gorgeous here. I've got tropical birds that sing me awake every morning. But also it's been a lonely experience at times. And so it's not without its difficulty. I know that I'm making a lot less money than I could be by living here in Colombia. And so I've certainly sacrificed a lot, and before even writing this book, I've dedicated the last 5 years of my life to this belief that the United States is Babylon. I don't know in what time the Father might judge Babylon, but we do know one day Babylon will be destroyed for her sins. And so the hope is in writing this book that I would be able to convince someone, if indeed I am correct about my thesis about who Babylon is, and even if I'm wrong, to help put people on the right path to seeing what the importance of who Babylon is, and if someone identifies a different entity that may be Babylon, then great, let's continue that discussion. So, when I published this book, I think in terms of commissions, I made maybe $100 or $200 on it. This book really didn't reach that many people. It was a little bit discouraging, but the hope when I wrote that book is if I could at least save one soul from Paul. And similarly, that's my motivation in writing this book on Babylon. So, piece by piece as I write it, or if I find something relevant like this, I'll continue to post on YouTube. And I mentioned that I made next to nothing on this book because I don't expect to make anything on the Babylon book. So if you would be willing to contribute, I could accept from PayPal or Zelle. If you're not able to contribute, prayer is the most important thing. I work independently teaching English here in Colombia. Hopefully this year also I can grow the YouTube channel and to continue to work independently. If you could keep me in your prayers that I'm able to make enough money that I don't have to work every waking moment, but that I can dedicate some time to writing. And also, any kind and encouraging words about if my writing or channel has helped you, that does mean a lot to me. I'm definitely fueled by encouragement more than anything else. So thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for your prayers and for your support. I think if I don't finish this book this year, when am I going to finish it? So I want to publicly say that this year will be the year that I'm going to get that published. And shalom to all of you, and I just want to let you know that even though I am here again in Colombia, everything's peaceful. It's business as usual here. So do pray for peace for this region, and a blessing to all of you. Shalom.